Did everybody get to review those? Oh, Jake, I'm sorry, I didn't say start recording. So call the meeting to order. Talk about approval of minutes from October 6th. Can I get any questions or comments about the minutes?
They were good. Whoever took them, thank you.
Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Excellent. Perfect. You can move on to the next item, which is the reviewing the legislative report. Mr. Barowitz is with us. If you wouldn't mind walking us through that, that would be pretty wonderful.
Jay, before we do that,
Sure.
we're thinking we might want to introduce a couple of new folks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I totally passed right over that. And I was the one that asked for that to be on there.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Sorry for interrupting.
And I don't know
So
whether we have to vote on the minutes.
We have to vote on the minutes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So should we all in favor of approving the minutes?
Yes, my apologies.
I don't get to vote,
Aye.
but okay.
Any opposed? Perfect. Thank you, guys.
And then,
I jumped ahead. And then quick introduction to Betsy, please, Savannah.
hi, Betsy. Our newest board member is here today, and we're thrilled to have her. As you probably all saw in an email earlier last week or the week before, she's the lead director of nursing education and professional development at UVM Medical Center. She was at Rutland Regional. She's an adjunct professor, adjunct faculty member, and I got this one wrong in the email, for UVM, Norwich, and the state colleges. I've got that right this time, right? Yeah, and she grew up in Clarendon, so she's a Southern Vermonter. And anyway, so welcome, Betsy. And also with us today is our new deputy commissioner, Chris Winters, who most of you know from other roles he's held, but we wanted him to sit in and hear how the executive committee is going through everything. And either of you want to say anything or no? Yes.
Oh my
I was
God.
just gonna say,
Go ahead,
I've
Betsy.
never heard Chris Winters not having something to say.
Just waiting for the board member to go first.
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for the kind welcome. I'm excited to participate and collaborate with all of you. So thank you.
Looking forward to it, Betsy, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Excited to be here. See some familiar faces and some folks I haven't met yet. I am brand new to the Department of Labor. I'm going on week 6, but not new to state government. I came from DCF, so I've had 2.5 years as DCF commissioner. I'm excited to bring some of my human services perspective to this. And before that, many years in the Secretary of State's office as Deputy Secretary of State and Director of the Office of Professional Regulation. So corporations, licensing, all that kind of workforce stuff is also in my bag of tricks. And so I'm excited to bring that to the job here and excited to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to
Okay.
meet you both.
Yeah.
All right.
Am I going next? Oh, we're going right into
Also,
the
I think
data.
I was
Yeah.
inappropriately introducing Matthew. Sorry, I jumped ahead of myself a little bit there, but Matt, if you wouldn't mind jumping in the PSEO information, the demo would be wonderful.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. For those who don't know me, my name is Matthew Barowitz. I'm an economist with the Vermont Department of Labor. I oversee the Economic and Labor Market Information Division, partners to the currently closed federal government, both the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Employment and Training Administration. So we look forward to our federal partners' return to the workspace. I think there's a full report. Definitely encourage individuals to take a look at that. It's been a heck of a lot of work, and I applaud both Sabina and Drake for all the effort they've put into that to get it to where it is. Through that process, under the conversation of a data warehouse or a data trust or a data lake, depending on what language you're using and how you want it to flow, there is a report that is generated about and exploring specifically a data trust and what that might mean and what it might entail. Through those efforts, it has been an educational journey, kind of learning about what our opportunities are out there. And as with any exploration, you find things that might be lower hanging fruit, things that might be bigger reaches, questions that we want answered, or things that just seem like barriers to actually accomplishing the goal. So I've been asked here to talk specifically about one opportunity known as the PSEO, Post-Secondary Employment Outcomes Project. The PSEO is a project done by the U.S. Census Bureau. And so I'm going to share screen. This is all publicly available data. And I'm going to put a link in the chat right now to the end product. I guess I could self-promote and put a link to our website as well if people aren't aware. But you know, as a good caveat, I always say I'm going to show you a lot of information, but reaching out to Sabina or Trake if you have follow-up questions or want specific information, you want me and my team to look at anything, going through them is typically the best way. You don't have to become an expert in this stuff. You know, you have a whole team available to you. So I encourage you to reach out as need be. So here is our website. This is vtlmi.info. And you can see our nice little current, our suspension announcement there. We had a press release that did not go out. I highlight this because on our website, there's lots of information about wages in Vermont, employment, by industry, all these things. Under the publications, if you click on the press release and publications, you get a long list of the type of work we do here. And for those that are gasping at the quality of this website, rest assured by the end of April of next year, we're going to have a whole rebuilt website. We have a contract out to bid right now. But as it stands right now, if you're just poking around looking for interesting things to read, I encourage you to check out the press release and publications tab. The Kevin's Corner is very popular. But as part of our annual requirements through the Employment and Training Administration, we have to do something called, we have to do an annual report. And ours is called the Economic and Demographic Profile Series. And so you can see going back to 1999, you can see all the Economic and Demographic Profile Series we've created. And these are big. And they are like, if you just had one publication you could put in your bag and you needed to kind of have a toolkit for wherever you're going, you can see here's the 2025 with a nice little picture, but it is 164 pages. It is broken out by county. So if you were interested in a particular county, you could actually just grab the 10 or 12 pages associated with that. And we try and do a deep dive into all aspects of it and why. There is a nexus here, and I'm going to get there, why we're talking about this to the PSEO. So as part of our work at the Vermont Department of Labor, we're administering unemployment insurance benefits, which is a program that provides benefits to people who lose their job through no fault of their own. There is a second whole half of that project, which is the administration of the tax contributions collections efforts associated with funding the unemployment insurance system. So we talk to employers quarterly, collecting their information, and we ultimately have wage records, which allow us to do a tremendous amount of research and builds all our data sets that we do about all the businesses in Vermont, all the samples that we draw when we want to talk to them. So years ago, in partnership with the U.S. Census Bureau, the Vermont Department of Labor said, you know what, we're going to provide you our quarterly records to allow us to get things like this. In partnership with the U.S. Census Bureau, we provide them our quarterly wage records. It's extremely confidential, but this partnership is extremely trusted with the U.S. Census Bureau, and it allows us to actually see, if you're interested in Windham County, you could see who's coming in to work in Windham County and who lives in Windham County and works in Windham County, the live-in and work-in category, but also the outflow. So by partnering with the U.S. Census Bureau, this data tool called On the Map, and if you are in the Regional Development Corporation or economic development space, there's a good chance you've seen this product because it really helps businesses understand what their catchment area is for either trying to recruit workers that are currently leaving the county. And when you go to the tool actually online, we're doing a county analysis here. You can make it down to the town level if you wanted. But you can look at where your catchment areas for your labor market is. Who might you be recruiting from? How many people are you losing on a daily basis to employment outside the county? That type of thing. So it gives you tremendous, and it even says where they're migrating to. So most workers who work in Windham County actually live in Windham County. That's the number one. The second one would be Cheshire County, New Hampshire. On the flip side, they live in Windham County, but where they work, again, the majority live in Windham County. but the second one would be Windsor County and then Cheshire. So, Windham is an interesting county in that it's very locked in on itself. So there isn't a lot of migration, out migration. You look at Chittenden County, it's very different. Now, why this is interesting is because we are already partners. The Vermont Department of Labor is already partners with the U.S. Census Bureau, and we already provide them all the information they need to make us enrolled in this. Post-secondary employment outcomes, the PSEO, that's the link I put in the chat. What this is, I'm just going to read because it's an experimental data set developed by the U.S. Census Bureau, but it provides earnings and employment outcomes for colleges and university graduates by degree level, degree major, post-secondary institution, and state of institution. And so these are data points that are used, they're matched from the university transcripts with the quote unquote national database of jobs. And that's really what we're talking about here when we talk about state labor market information divisions. That's us, the Census Bureau. But what we need to participate is actually we need universities, colleges to agree to participate. And by them providing that information, we can build what I'm going to show you next here. So this is, again, publicly available. And if you go down here, you can see where the country is in terms of who's in, who's out. The darker the blue, the higher the concentration of participation. Vermont currently is not a partnering system, but you can see by entering this, we're already gaining access to all these that are already in existence. And that's leveraging all that information and tying us into this network. So it has been something that we've discussed and actually are having ongoing conversations with the U.S. Census Bureau and some post-secondary education institutions about this to see what the interest might be, because it does, again, require that participation by the university or college or post-secondary institution. So I'm just going to take a quick pause right there just to see if there's any overarching questions on how I've set this up before we actually look at the data tools. Does anyone have any fundamental or baseline questions about this information before we see what this tool can do?
This is a great tool, Matt. And I'm not sure we've discussed it much before, but I'm just curious, is the Census Bureau still up and running? Are they functioning right now?
They are not, no.
So this is all
To my
data
knowledge.
from when?
Oh, this data is, I don't know.
I mean, how current is it if they're shut down?
Oh, that's a great question. Some of these technical questions I'll have to defer, but the spirit of this product is it's updated annually based on the university submitting new files on an annual basis. So this most likely is up to date as of the most recent files as of a month ago.
Okay.
And, that's the fun part about some of these data points. In our world, wages by employment move on a quarterly basis with about a 4 to 5 month lag. So if we wanted to know what's happening, and I can tell you what's happening in Q1, but when it comes to graduations of programs, it's like an annual thing. And so there's not a big flow of update or most current, it's just like what came through. And so we'll take a look at what the dates are on these things too, as some of these things say.
Yeah, they're all labeled, Matt. Like I was digging through this weekend. There's most of them are labeled. Like I'm on the Explorer page. It's all data from 2022, right? So it's all labeled.
Yeah, and and we'll talk about this. But when you talk about 2022, you say, "Oh goodness, wouldn't it be nice to have something more updated?" But when we see how this tool works, again, the PSEO Explorer is where you're clicking either here or here, and it takes you to the page. But when you're talking about outcomes for this blue, the short graph here being 1 year post-grad, 5 years post-grad, 10 years post-grad, you're trying to actually see what the track record is of these individuals. So, if we launched, even it being November right now, and we launched a comprehensive study to say, where did the graduates from May end up? I don't think we would have a good understanding of how that, their investment in their education and their human capital bore out this quickly, right? We want to give that a little time to develop, a little time to percolate. And so you'll see it, a lot of this stuff. The Census Bureau in their infinite wisdom has said, let's look at 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year post-grad. So I have, this is what the tool looks like. You can choose whatever state is in the partnership right now. I chose Colorado because there was a lot of surrounding states in it, and people like thinking Vermont's like Colorado. So I just thought Colorado, I can choose any state you want, but Colorado always seems to come up in comparisons. You can even drill down into specific partners if you wanted. Again, there's confidentiality rules. So I'm sure if the N got too small, too few observations, you probably cap out. But right now we just have it as all partner institutions in Colorado. You can switch the degree level to certificates under a year, certificates that take 1 to 2 years, associates, baccalaureate, bachelor, post-bac certificates, masters, blah, blah, blah. You can see all the choices. Right now we just have baccalaureate. You can even choose a specific cohort if you wanted to say, well, how did the 2001 to 2003 cohort fare versus the 2007? You can compare all these things. So this is just an all right now. Again, you can mix them all up because you're looking at 1 year, 5 year, and 10-year post-grad. So it's not dependent on when they graduated. It's the relationship to how long ago they graduated. And then you can even look at the 25th, the 75th, the 25th, the 50th, and the 70th percentile to see what the lowest quarter makes or the highest 75th. But then I think what the beauty of this is, and we're just kind of going at it, is like right now I've clicked on all instructional programs. You can add engineering and see what, if you graduated in engineering, what does that look? You can even drop into this detailed category and compare civil engineering or mechanical engineering or computer engineering, and you can see the employment outcomes. I see there's a hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. One question for you. In these data sets, are they, is it all students at these institutions, or is it segregated by residency? I think Colorado is a great example, but that'd be a bigger issue in Vermont.
Yeah, it's completers of the programs. So
Okay,
let's
perfect.
say like you graduate, say you're from Massachusetts and you graduated from one of these Colorado institutions that's agreeing to participate, but now you live in Indiana, they're going to be able to follow your outcomes from that. You'll be batched up in here. And so, I think the joys of this type of stuff is it's fun to click through and it's fun to just kind of see what the outcomes are. But I think there is ultimately what it does is it reinforces a lot of what we know, right? Like, I think anyone in this room would say, hey, between all on average graduates of a 4-year degree and an engineering versus a person who graduated specifically with an engineering degree, who do you think makes more? The general all average or the engineering? And you'd say, I think engineers are probably going to make more. And that's what the data bears out. And that's, I think, in many ways, what the fun of all this is it bears out a lot of information we already know to be true or believe to be true about outcomes related to certain educational pathways. But these are just outcomes. So you have to complete. And we know there's a big gap between enrollment and completion. So even before enrollment, anyone in post-secondary recruitment can tell you that.
Matt, does it, other than engineers, which is often its own school at a university, I mean, does it dig down into like economic majors of a liberal arts college? Because I can guarantee they will do just as well as the engineers.
Could be. If you have a specific example, I pulled up visual and performing arts just for you, Senator.
Oh, darling, but you chose Windham County and not Windsor.
Oh, darn it.
No,
I went
okay.
too
You
south.
and I have plenty of time this year to look at Windsor County, but because it would be curious to look. I mean, I appreciate the visual and performing arts as one of the options. My guess is that does not compare favorably with engineers.
Right. It does not. So yeah, certainly from a wage standpoint, it does not. But what was your question? So you could choose a 4-year degree. You're trying to like choose a particular institution with a particular.
Could you dig down into as counselors are advising people into what majors and stuff, can you dig into the majors and equate 1, 5, and 10-year income expectations out of a major? Like if you chose economics as a major as opposed to performing and visual arts, sadly.
Yes. So yeah, like now switching from the general to the detailed, like you can compare like fine and studio arts versus music or journalism or even economics. And you can see what the outcomes of each of those individual programs.
So it has that level of granularity.
Yes, if it is provided by the school.
That was my question.
Yep. Representative Marcotte.
Yeah.
Hi, Matt. Um,
Mike, we
So-
can't hear you very well.
you hear me now?
A
Yeah.
bit
Well enough.
better.
Yeah.
You're all the way in the Northeast Kingdom, so you're gonna have to shout.
So,
I think, did you just mute yourself?
I think he's
Freeze.
frozen. He's
I think
frozen.
it's frozen.
Hmm.
Oh,
Oh.
Mike, you're frozen. It is colder up there. No, he's not even smiling, so you know he's frozen.
Yeah. He might have to rejoin or whatever.
So with the link in the chat, I would definitely encourage individuals to kind of poke around. Sounds like the chair has looked at it, and I just think it's intuitive, and you can kind of just kind of point and click, add things, subtract things, and it kind of gives you results right at your fingertips. And as I said before, like it would require partnerships with the people who are the training programs themselves, but the range from everything from certificate programs all the way to doctorals is possible. And so if it became something that, as a small state, we encouraged people to participate, I could see this, gaining some traction. So that is where I would kick off the conversation and certainly welcome other thoughts or questions.
God has another question.
Actually, mine's not a question, it's just a comment. And that is that the kind of one big beautiful bill included some accountability provisions for higher education that start the process of establishing a requirement that a particular program be able to demonstrate that its graduates earn more than people at the next level of education down. So there's going to be increased pressure on institutions and kind of increased anxiety about this data because it'll impact their eligibility to participate in the federal programs. But I do think it'll make our institutions more interested in being able to see data like this.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but that does set off some alarm bells for me, particularly since there's a number of pathways either through registered apprenticeship or associate's degrees right now, which have shown to have higher outcomes than a four-year degree or beyond in some cases.
Right.
Right. Yeah, no, that is alarming if that's going to be required. I'm sorry. And value isn't all cash.
100%.
Just saying.
Agreed.
Well, thank you, Matt. I have a question, but it has nothing related to this PSEO. I want to know what bridge it is because that is not a Vermont bridge behind you, Matthew.
Oh,
Goodness, yes, that's come up a couple of times in this meeting. It was a metaphor for our unemployment insurance modernization project, where the bridge between our current and our future system, and it was used as a pep talk background, and I never got around to changing it.
I think it's
little
very
hearts out
funny.
to our United Modernization.
I think that's great. I'm so glad to know that, having lived through a lot of the modernization time.
Yes, I better get a stock background here soon, though.
Oh no,
figure
it's
it out.
much more exciting.
Matthew, I'm sorry if I missed this, but is Vermont planning on having its data on this as well?
It takes two to tango in this situation. The Vermont Department of Labor has already provided the information necessary to participate in this because we participate in the On the Map program, that one that shows commuting patterns of workers. Now all we need is a willing training provider, a post-secondary training provider who wants to participate. We have started those conversations just to try and see what the level of interest is out there. And maybe Sabina or Commissioner Smith has a more updated, some updated news on that. But I know conversations have been happening, and we've been acting as a kind of intermediary between the Census Bureau and our local partners.
Great.
I would say that the most interest shown right now is from the Vermont State University folks. But I know we've reached.
Well, it's Vermont
Matt,
State Colleges, not BTSU. It's Vermont State Colleges. So
Pardon
CCD
me.
BTSU.
Pardon me. Okay, and that we have done some outreach with UVM, but I don't know where we are with that. I don't know if you have any updates, Matt, on that, but certainly we will need our post-secondary partners to participate.
Yep. Last I knew, UVM was going to pull a team together to have a meeting, and we were on hold waiting for that meeting invite. But yeah, it is. There's no cost to it, which is the beauty. It is a federal partner. They manage all the IT and everything like that. And they are a secure partner. The U.S. Census Bureau is very accustomed to handling confidential information. But obviously, the post-secondary institutions are strapped for resources, whether that be analytical power, and the data. They have a lot of demands on their data shops, and so they have to see value in it to join.
Yeah. Scott.
You're muted, Scott.
Depending on UVM's reaction, this might be something we bring to the Vermont Higher Education Council. That's the presidents of all the institutions, including the privates. So it might be good to have a presentation there if this becomes something we're interested in, and I'd be happy to facilitate that.
Thank you.
Representative Marcotte, you cut out before you could make your comment or ask your question. So do you still want to add anything?
I don't know. Can you hear me now? I don't know what's going on with my internet, but anyway, I think my question was basically how do we get into this, and how do we get the institutions to join in, and maybe that's something Allison, you and I can work on as well to try to put our weight behind this too.
You're on mute too.
As well.
I'm trying to be so good, because otherwise I ask random questions like Matt's bridge. But the Scott, Mike, before you came back in, Scott offered to also help on this, but I think this would be great. Although I have to say, if they're going to be hammered by the feds on equating the quality and value of their education with money, with financial outcomes only, my guess is some of them will be more reluctant to participate. But I may be wrong. It would be great to get them to participate, because it would be incredibly useful, and other than the sending it and the support work to get the data to the Census Bureau wouldn't cost them anything, just like it doesn't cost us anything to participate.
Yeah, Senator, that was going to be one of my points too. Is Matthew, I don't know how long this has been available nationally, but what are do they have data on the results of, or the direction any of this data is given? Because I agree with Senator Clarkson that it's not all about money, but for a lot of people going into further education, the costs are pretty high. So they're looking at what their ROI numbers are going to be and how that is going to apply. So, is there any associated data with any of that, Matthew? Probably not. Yeah, right. I don't even know how they would collect it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar any. I'd be happy to do some research and just even reach out to our Census Bureau partners when they're back working to see what they might have or what they can say about how states have implemented it, how it's been incorporated. Because I think that is, it is meant to be not only for policymakers or educational institutions, but also I think potential students is supposed to be a target audience of this, and I'm not sure what the take-up rate of this is.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see Tom Cheney being very interested in this in terms of Advance Vermont. I mean, we want people to equate some aspect of financial success with what they choose to study, but not everything. I think it would be very interesting, particularly for graduate degrees and apprenticeships and internships. Man, if we had this data for our apprenticeships and internships and show how much better they did, just how well they did. They don't need to be better than anybody else. It just needs to show how well they do. And man, that would be so helpful in terms of marketing some of our internships and apprenticeships. Silence. I mean, it would be great, but I think Jay, to go to your point, I think the graduate programs where you're choosing to invest in a much more focused way
Hmm.
In a career as opposed to an undergraduate degree, that might also be very interesting for people. But I can see Tom Cheney really, I mean, this is just so helpful, a lot of this, but it can't be used as a weapon. And so the challenge here is how do you balance information and data, open data, with not having it weaponized by the Trump administration or by any administration.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, this is an incredible tool for a young person looking to see what they want to become, right? I mean, I've a lot of people in my family are in the medical field and had gone to medical school and had places that they wanted to live. If they could actively, get this type of information, they could pick and choose what direction they're going and, what state they're going to, how they get the fastest return. And, it's a great tool. It's a great tool,
Yeah.
but I could see it being used both ways for sure.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome,
Yeah.
but also fabulous.
A quick question. I know we got a lot on the agenda. I just happened to go into Connecticut and I was looking at at first I was just looking at the different certificate levels. I did see under the baccalaureate, they had one for construction trades, which actually was higher than the median income over 10 years. I guess my question is more about, I guess, how they define these different categories, Matt. So I'm assuming if we're able to get data and the universities all agree to provide that information, how they sort that.
That is a great question, and I'm just going to bring up, I think this is what you're looking at right here, is that we have the state of Connecticut for 4-year degrees, all instructional programs on the left, and then these construction trades on the right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's SOC to 6, so
because I didn't see anything under the certificate programs with that classification, but I did see it under bachelor. So I'm assuming it's how they define it. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, my belief is, and I want to verify this, in my world, we use something called the SOC codes, Standard Occupational Classification, so that each occupation is uniquely identified. My understanding is education uses SIP codes. I don't know what they stand for, CIPs. And if you look on this graph right here, I believe is this. Nope, of course it's not. They have a map where they show all what it looks like, how messy it is in terms of how you can't really see it, but it's on this lower right-hand side where they're mapping all the ways, what are the occupations you can achieve by a certain educational code. So I think my guess would be they're using the standard education coding for programming.
Yeah.
I will verify that as well.
They use the SIP codes.
Yeah, they do. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tim,
So are there technical skills involved in those categories? I didn't see those. Are there Vermont, technical colleges? Are they included in there as well? Or is it? Yeah.
They can be. Yep. They can be. They can even do certificate programs or technical programs, whatever, whoever's willing to join and provide their graduate data. Well, again, feel free to reach out to Sabina or Drake if you have questions for me or research questions or things you'd like to know. In the interim, we're always looking for new ways to present our information. We do have a lot of wage data in terms of outcomes for occupations. And if there's better ways to show it, we're always looking for ways to do that. And so appreciate everyone's collaboration on this important work.
Thank you,
thank you,
Matthew.
Matt. Yeah.
Matt, it's always wonderful and illuminating.
Especially with the bridge, which was so well pointed out.
But we actually have, if you're thinking about other bridges, the bridge that we have from New York State to Vermont is one of the most beautiful bridges.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. All right, let's move to our board goals. I'll hand this over to Sabina and Drake to give updates, and I believe we have to vote on these as well. Is there more voting to do? There is, correct. Okay.
Thanks, Jay. And I'm going to toss the baton to Drake, who's done most of the heavy lifting and work on this, which she's done a great job. And just wanted to give her those props and let her run with it.
Thanks, Sabina.
Sure.
Great. One thing I will say before we move on to goals, and I think we're still fine with timing, but I appreciate folks being cognizant of that. We want to get done on time today, is the really helpful primer that Matt just gave us on the PSEO project. There's more information on that project in the latest draft of our data trust report that we shared with you in advance of the meeting. So that report is being written by the office in consultation with this executive committee and the Agency of Digital Services, and it's due December 15th. So we have about a month to continue to get feedback and input from you all. We can bring this back at our meeting next month, and I think we would probably want to be sharing the working draft with the full board at the meeting this month. But if folks have thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, reach out to us. A lot of folks have been supporting the development of that report. So I just want to leave that there. We don't have to talk about it anymore. Great. All right. So at the last executive committee meeting, as most of you will remember, some of you weren't there, y'all took another look at the goals that the board passed in September, our 4 main goals. And the executive committee decided that y'all wanted to just dig a little bit deeper into what those goals mean, what activities, metrics, desired outcomes might sort of be the next layer beneath those goals before, and having the executive committee do some work to start to frame that out before deciding on a committee structure and sort of like getting started. So between the last executive committee and today, we've been working with you all and folks who have expertise and a stake in those conversations to generate some updated drafts to share with the group. So we now have 10 minutes to talk about each one. And I apologize for how structured this has to be. We just want to get through everything now because now that the documents are looking different from what we initially passed, we've been advised that we should be voting on them again and then bringing them back to the full board. So thank you to all who participated in the redrafting and updating and honing of these documents. And we would like to go through each one with the full committee and hopefully with the goal of y'all voting to approve this next sort of bite at the apple, so to speak. So in the interest of time, I will be keeping time, and we're going to go in reverse order since I think Scott has to leave us a little bit early today, and he's been instrumental in supporting the updating of goal 4, which is increasing post-secondary graduate retention. And just a logistical question I have for you all, would you like me to share my screen so that we can be looking at the same documents together? Yes. All right, so Scott. All right, I can do that. If Scott, you will take it away and talk a little bit about this goal.
Thank you. And I apologize for the fact that I've got to leave. Just the vagaries of scheduling. I have to chair another board meeting kind of right at 2 o'clock, and I couldn't pass it off. Well, let me kind of start off by kind of, Drake, thank you for all the work that you did on pulling this all together. And then maybe restate just for purposes of setting table, why that, kind of why this is one of the goals that we've established. And as many of you know, one of Vermont's strengths is its higher education community, and in particular, our ability to recruit students from out of state. Vermont is historically number 2 or number 3, depending on the given year and the per capita importation of students. And these are individuals who have chosen to, are attracted enough to Vermont that they have chosen to pursue their educations here. And they present for us an opportunity to recruit and retain new talent. But also, there is an opportunity for us to retain, our homegrown talent that were, kind of live here already and have chosen to go to school in in their home state. That'd be particularly true for adults. So with that goal in mind, that we have a population that we would like to try and not just attract, but actually retain, we spent some time thinking about a series of strategies that we could employ as part of that effort. And I think we've got the document in front of you all, and probably many of you already seen some of this, but I'll just kind of walk down through the categories. All of this is, partnership based. And I will say that, this really is a first cut at this. So we look forward to getting, feedback from each of you as you have a chance to review it in greater detail. So not necessarily in any particular order, but the first strategy we described is strengthening employer connections and job placement. This is really organized around forming partnerships with employers and with the higher education community to find ways to better connect Vermont grads with local employers, coordinate with regional development corporations. And, what is assumed in here is that we've got some institutions that do a really excellent job of this and have a historic reputation for making local connections for their students. And there's an opportunity for us to learn from them and see if we can find ways to kind of replicate that, more broadly. Secondly, and I'll just kind of note that in prior conversations, I think we had gotten really specific about the barriers to retaining young people. And in our crafting of this, we broadened it so that we didn't approach this conversation assuming that we knew for sure what were the real kind of barriers to keeping and attracting young people. And so we shifted from a focus on specific barriers where, housing, healthcare, things that we have all talked about as a state at great length, to kind of reformulating this in part as a research opportunity. And one thing that I would note is that, perhaps for the first time, in part because of some of the programs that the state has put in place to try and retain students, the Green Mountain Graduate Job Retention Program being one example, we actually have a pool of individuals who have chosen to stay in Vermont, who create an opportunity for us to explore with these recent graduates the factors that influence their decision. And that creates an opportunity for us to both assess the effectiveness of those programs, but understand in greater detail what might have prevented them from staying. And similarly, with some of our workforce loan cancellation programs, we've got information both from individuals who stayed and individuals who left that we could use as part of a strategy development process. Promote community integration and engagement. In part, this is really working again with partners within the community to promote both existing and create new programs that help graduates engage socially and civically. There's been some interesting work done in a number of our institutions. Heading south, Bennington has been doing some interesting work, as has Landmark. Align higher education and workforce development. Again, this really is about working with the higher education community to make sure that the programs being offered are aligned with state workforce needs. And then the fifth one, and this is not new in practice, but probably new conceptually, involves kind of working with kind of across partners, but particularly with our institutions of higher education on developing messaging that is designed to promote graduate retention. And I'll just say anecdotally, one of the experiences many of us have had is to go to go to some programming with some soon-to-be Vermont graduates at our institutions and hear them talk about the fact that there aren't any jobs available in Vermont. At the same time that some of us have been trying to recruit accountants, just as an example, for about a year. And I think each of us as an employer can kind of cite an example of that, but I think achieving our goals will be about messaging and not just reducing barriers, because right now there's a negative message about opportunity that we do need to overcome. And I'll just kind of pause there, Drake, and see if there's anything that I dropped that you'd like to make sure that we talk about.
No, that was great. And there's some, you'll see here, there's some desired outcomes. Those really are mirror, what we would hope the strategies described above would yield. So thank you, Scott, and thank you for your input on that. And just would open it up to questions, comments that folks have.
I just have a question, which is, I know we need to vote on them, but I also know that these are just sort of ways to get the committee work going. So I would hope this would all be refined further. So it just raised some interesting questions about, Scott, has anyone done any study on the competitive wages? Because Vermont underpays, we already know Vermont underpays, sadly, compared to every jurisdiction around us. So, I mean, one of the ways we could compete better is pay better. And I'm just curious if anyone has done any work on that, comparing similar jobs in New York, Massachusetts, Quebec, New Hampshire, because I think some of that work, but maybe that's committee work, and that's probably committee work.
I am unaware of anyone has done anything, at that granular level. And I would say that I think that there's kind of two versions of it as we talk to young people. There's no job in this area available, which is kind of one narrative. And then there's the other narrative, which you're describing, which is I can make more money in Boston.
Yes, but their costs, and again, we have to, but I think this is one of the competitive edges we could have, is really helping educate them about, well, yeah, you could go to Boston, but it will cost you double to live there. Although sadly, you can't make that argument anymore in Vermont, really, because it costs so much to live here now.
Yeah.
But I think your point is a good one, Senator Clarkson, which is that this is the spirit of this activity is just getting a little bit more specific with what these goals mean, and then handing those documents to the committees to refine and say,
exactly,
what have we done?
And that then the committee will refine it and make recommendations to the board and to hopefully the legislature about some of the things, because this has a lot of, thanks. That's what I thought.
Well, they might find that some of the strategies are going to change anyway as they meet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions on
No,
this goal?
This was great work, Scott. Thank you. Who was on your committee?
I think Drake was our lead through this.
But who else served with you on this work? Because we had a whole group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Drake?
We worked with Scott on this goal. We had a tight timeline to get things done, so I put an email out asking if folks wanted to join the groups to please join us. But we had a really great discussion in a small group, and I think it was exactly the right people. And we look forward to welcoming more folks to this goal soon.
We recognized a need to broaden, to enlarge our committee to include more voices, since we will be drawing on them in other ways. But we were a mighty but small committee for these purposes.
I'm impressed. This is great. And it's got it raises all sorts of good stuff and supports what some of the stuff we're already working on.
All right, great. So we ready to move to goal 3?
Yeah.
All right, y'all are gonna get sick of seeing my screen today, that's for sure.
Can you make it a little bigger, Drake, for those of us
Absolutely.
On the other hand, I did.
So this goal, and I'll share it in just a moment, goal 3 was around supporting business expansion and relocation. And you'll recall that the drafting of that goal language, the language that you all approved, was really spearheaded by Secretary Curley and her team, and actually had a little bit more detail in it than goal 4 did. So our work to kind of build that goal out in partnership with Secretary Curley and Tim, who's joining us today, was kind of about pulling out and sort of teasing out what was already embedded in that goal into some strategy. So I can share my screen. And Tim, did you want to add anything to this conversation around goal 3?
Well, no, I can add that, this is so important to the work that I do as the director of business recruitment. So this is, I really appreciate what this is doing and what it could do.
Great. Right. So, and Tim, please chime in at any point if you have thoughts or if I'm getting anything wrong. But you all were really strategic in how this goal was drafted originally to really avoid duplicating any work that's already happening at ACCD. So really the board's goal here is to sort of plug in and amplify and find the right level at which to support getting more businesses here and supporting Vermont businesses to expand. So I'm going to just really quickly go through this because I really do think that a lot of the work that's been done on this goal is reflected in the original language. But the first strategy here is strengthening alignment between workforce and economic development systems. So we see some opportunities to which I think is really a lot of the spirit of the office and the board, right, is to help knit systems together and get the right folks at the table to share information and strategize. So this goal would really focus around, how can the board, the Department of Labor, ACCD, and other partners, share information and partner together even better than they are now. And then we had also mentioned about potentially, and some of this work is also going to be mentioned in other goals, but figuring out like where are there sort of clusters of work happening and amplifying those. And then the next activity is supporting the expansion of businesses that already are housed in Vermont. And this again was pulled out in the initial goal language, but identifying Vermont companies that may have strong expansion potential, conducting needs assessments to inform where additional training is needed, and then figuring out how Vermont businesses can be supported to expand. So I think there's already a number of resources that exist that I'm not an expert on, but again, how do we make sure that when an employer is ready to expand, they're supported to do that? Or how can we support businesses that may not be thinking about expansion, but could really benefit from that to be able to do so? The next activity is supporting business relocation to Vermont. And one thing that Secretary Curley had highlighted and Tim in the initial drafting of this goal was that there could be some really helpful work that the board could do in developing workforce readiness packages or sort of like almost marketing materials, outreach materials to share with businesses that are not currently in Vermont about the benefits of moving here or expanding here or setting up a new office here, and the talents of the labor pool and the benefits of being a Vermont business, and making sure that we're integrating shared messaging in the resources and materials that are being distributed to folks across agencies. And then I think there's a lot of other opportunities to collaborate with partners on that outreach, especially in sort of border areas of the state. And then the last strategy. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, on that point. So, I mean, a lot of times when I'm talking to businesses looking to either expand into the Vermont or actually a lot of folks are actually looking to purchase an existing company as well, right? So it's because you can call it expansion. But a lot of their questions are things where I have to do major research for. Like last week, I got a question about, what's the average benefits going to cost for people who do production work, and and I can go find salaries and wages, but I still am having trouble finding what the average could be to answer this person. So it's something that kind of information can go a long way for us to like be given quick answers and have outside of taxes but it's they're looking for all those they're obvious answers too, obvious questions. I mean, what's it going to cost them to move here and what's the averages? And it's just something to pulling it all together. I find it'd be very, very difficult unless I just have Matt Barowitz with me on those visits, maybe. Yeah, that's all I want to say.
Great. Thanks,
That's
Tim.
a great
And then-
earned income opportunity for Department of Labor. Renting Matt out to businesses to do that. Great. As we look at possible federal money with DOL.
You don't need to sleep, right, Matt? Okay, great.
Chris?
Chris, I see your hand up.
Chris Loso has his hand.
And
Yeah,
Matt, I'm building bridges metaphorically with people outside of Vermont, so you could come do that.
Absolutely. You are Tim Tierney.
Real quick, I was just looking at under 3.2, the support Vermont-based business expansion. They had that bullet point, which is conduct workforce needs assessments to inform customized training, apprenticeship, and credentialing solutions. In terms of the training piece, for goal 1, I was getting some information to Kendall, and I found some information I forgot about. The new John Young, the new director of the Vermont training program, is Randall Scott. Yeah, so part of that actually plays to that second bullet point, because you can actually glean some more information at the aggregate level by looking at each of the training grant applicants and what they're looking for training. That might help to get the information needed as well, because that's coming directly from organizations requesting that grant funding.
Absolutely.
Just something to think about. Yep.
The
Thanks.
new John Young is whom?
Randall
Zott.
Zott. That's it. With a Z.
SZOTT.
I know him well. I just was
Yes.
surprised.
Great guy.
Yep. And Sabina and I met with Randall, I don't know, was it a couple of weeks ago now? So we shared with him, and I'm sure he's gotten it from his colleagues at the agency, but we shared the initial draft of the board approved goals. So I think there will be plenty of opportunities, to work across state government to make sure that all that information is informing your work. Great. And then quickly, the last activity here is around data and evaluation. So I think there's an opportunity to be, really mindful of feedback from employers, incorporating that, building, connections across agencies when it comes to data, et cetera. But of course, this will need to be fleshed out more by the folks who will make up the committee around this goal. And our hope was to give enough sort of specificity so that folks really understand what the goals mean, but not so much that it, stifles creative thinking and doesn't allow for conversation. So that's where we landed on goal 3. And thank you, Tim and Secretary Curley, for contributing to that.
Well, I mean, as one who was pushing us not to reinvent the wheel and reminding us that they already are doing this work, that this is a great example of a partner in the State Workforce Development Board that's doing this work that we can help partner and enable in some capacities and support their work. And I think this is great. I mean, because they're doing most of it already, but a lot of new eyes on it isn't a bad thing, and that's great. I think it'll be a great committee.
Thank you, Senator. Any other thoughts, feedback, input?
Drake, it's probably more for Matt, but when the Vermont training program, the data that comes out of there, would the Vermont training program also be able to join that consortium where we could grab that data information as well?
Oof, I don't think so, because I don't know that VTP is specifically tied to certificates, like completion of certificates.
Yeah, it's not.
Interestingly, though, if the people stay in Vermont, the workers, the report that we do annually for the Vermont training program, my team, the Economic and Labor Market Information, we do provide results, like a 2-year look back on how training participants who went through VTP do in terms of wage outcomes. So we do provide the same data that goes into the PSEO is the same data we use to evaluate VTP locally on an annual basis with a 2-year look back.
So we're at time, and I know we have 2 more goals to discuss, and I thinking we were going to end it to schedule a meeting
2:30.
right after this. So
we're scheduled to go until 2:30, Senator, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
if you have to go,
I
we
will
understand.
then present this quickly, and then I sadly have to go. I thought these meetings were always 1 to 2.
No,
They're
1 to
2:30.
2:30. Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, my bad.
All right, so I will
Not
share
the
my
first time.
screen. Well, it happens to all of us.
No,
No big deal.
I have to remember that for the next one.
All right, so we're going to shift to goal 2, which started as a pretty specific goal
Right,
around
so-
piloting new adult CTE, but we've in our small group kind of re-envisioned this goal. So Senator Kirkson, I'll put my screen up and you can.
Yeah, we had a terrific team working on this. We had Tiffany Walker, we had Jay Ramsey, we had Ruth Durkee, me and Drake, and who else? There's one other person that I'm punting. Anyway,
I think you got the group, and I think this actually is where my emails that were to Tiffany were bouncing back because I don't think that she had a chance to weigh in, and I apologize.
Oh,
but she's
you know.
she's an invaluable resource. I'm sure she'll weigh in as the committee work goes forward. So we pivoted a bit and really focused on adults and getting Vermonters both because, and partly this is informed by all that we know about COVID and how many people left the workforce and how many still haven't returned. And so we focused on supporting adults to re-engage and advance in the Vermont workforce, and really specifically focusing on those who want to grow their skills, change careers, and rejoin the workforce in some capacity. And this, I think our goal is a good one. I suppose we should just read it, which support adult Vermonters, including those seeking to grow their skills, change careers, and rejoin the workforce in attaining meaningful employment by expanding access to coordinated, clearly defined, and stackable education and training pathways that lead to credentials of value and align with Vermont's current and emerging workforce needs. And so we work hard on both the strategies and the activities. It's long, but not as long as group number 1. So I just would sort of stay pretty high level in our strategy. Our first strategy is expand and coordinate adult education and training opportunities, including adult CTE and adult education. And as much as possible, try and, just like we're trying to do in CTE itself, try and break down the barriers between adult education and adult CTE, which I think I have no understanding about how that divided in the first place. But this involves analysis. It involves expanding availability and making things more consistent around the state. Adult CTE is notoriously inconsistent. Pilot 1 to 3 new adult CTE program pathways with in-demand sectors. Strengthen and coordinate. There's a lot of strengthening and coordinating here. Because it hasn't been, and that is why we're so thrilled to have this office with Sabina and Drake. The coordination needs major improvement. And you can see, I don't need to read it to you, it's in front of you. And the partners are, as you would expect. If you think we're missing partners, we would love to know who we're missing. And our second strategy, the strategies just continuing on page number 2 are to establish and promote credentials of value. And we have three activities there that we've identified. Everything from basic promoting public awareness of these credential opportunities for adults. I mean, I don't think a very good job marketing all of these opportunities for adults interested in growing their careers and growing their skills and re-entering the workforce. So and then we go to our third strategy, which is engage employers or regional partners. And you can see there how the initial thoughts on that. The fourth one is enhancing outreach and awareness, which needs a lot of work. And you can see those, and the outcomes, as you would expect, are to increase adult participation in the workforce. Of course, this also requires a robust childcare system, which we're just assuming because we've put so much time and energy and money in that. expanding access to credentials of value, creating new CT opportunities for adults and making them consistent around the state, and improving coordination and pathways. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's a big goal. And until we have as many adults participating and growing, I remember as a child, my father always saying to me that the number one reason people stay in work is that they're given opportunities to grow in their work. And we don't, not everybody is given those opportunities. And sometimes you have to step away and look at something new. And, I think that we can do a better job marketing those opportunities. We have great opportunities. We need to improve them, but we have them now, and they need to be more robustly attended and taken advantage of. Short and sweet.
Wonderful. 10 out of 10. That's great. Feedback, questions, comments, concerns. This one does look different from the goal as it was originally passed. So we want to make sure folks
Now,
have.
this was
Matured.
Well, also even though we had Ruth as one of our secret weapons, I think a lot of us felt that the CTE system is a really good one, and for us to be monkeying with that, really, I think we all felt that we were more interested in the adult world. Anyway,
I think the high school CTE system has some of the things that the original goal intended more fully already in effect. And this gives an area to more fully address an area that may not be as clearly articulated or as coordinated.
Right. That is spot on.
So yeah, it's exciting to shift that focus.
It is. And I think we were all very jazzed working together. It was great.
I just want to say I love the updated goal. I think you guys did a great job on that. Unfortunately, you chose one of the best holidays of the year to meet, and I am unavailable on Halloween, as you would imagine. But I would just like to note that the goals seem to all have this gap analysis. I think we need to be careful that we don't have 17 gap analysis people working. So if we could find a way to either have one group focusing on that and reporting it to the others, or put in each goal that there will be a combined effort, or a person from each of those will be designated to work on a team of people cross goal group to do that gap analysis, so we don't have a bunch of them going on.
Totally agree. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, good point, Tiffany. I want to know why Halloween is such a challenging holiday. I had over 700 kids at my house. What was more challenging than that? And I attended.
Listen, Rutland's Halloween Parade is in several DC comics, and
yes,
Rutland is an important.
I didn't appreciate that you ran the Halloween parade.
I do not. I wasn't even in Rutland. I was in Addison County at their fundraiser, but it's an important holiday for me. I need many hours for that.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm glad we did you proud, even though you weren't able to join us for the conversation.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. And I love the focus on the person. You guys changed really to focus on the person instead of the program. And I think that's great. I love this rewrite.
Yeah, big
Tiffany,
props to Jay Ramsey, who's not here right now, but also had really great insights and input into that goal.
It was a good group. We missed you, Tiffany, but we look forward to working on the committee together.
Yeah,
baby.
All right, great. I think we're now only 2 minutes behind time, which is incredible. So, Senator Clarkson, if you have to go,
I have to go.
We'll see you soon.
So I just wanted, if I could, just before I go, I apologize because I have people coming here, which is the problem. My bad. Again, I apologize. But voting on this, my vote is, I support these goals and these rewritten goals as launching into I don't know what we're going to call the committees, but I don't know why we wouldn't vote on them as a board. Why do we have to vote on them as
so we're gonna the executive committee will vote to advance these to the board. So you'll be able to vote at the board meeting.
To advance them. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it okay for me to cast my vote to advance them now? Jay,
sure.
Please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have
so we have a motion. Can we get a second to that motion?
Well, we have one more goal. to go.
Oh, we
to go
have to
through.
go to number one. That's right. Senator Clarkson, you're noted.
Noted.
You're noted.
Senator.
Thank
My
you.
my vote is cast as about as publicly as it could be.
We-
Thank you,
Perfect.
and I
Thank you.
apologize. And I even printed out goal number 1, which is quite lengthy. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, one goal to go. Kendall, do you want me to share my screen and put it up
Sure,
for folks?
sure.
Okay.
We'll just stay consistent here. So, Chris and a few others here have seen this so far. Goal number 1 was to identify priority sectors. So right here, increase supply of workers in key sectors, develop recruiting targets for the workforce in Vermont's 5 sectors with the greatest workforce need, and develop sector-specific strategies to increase the supply of workers in collaboration with employers, ACCD, and other stakeholders. So the good news is we haven't changed any of the language of the goal in this instance, but we've tried to start to suss out the goal itself and how to create a structure around it. I think Tiffany, you transitioned us perfectly in terms of the gap analysis observation you just made, because the first thing this says is develop recruiting targets. So one of the things that's been in the back of my mind as we contemplate workforce expansion is, what is our overall workforce gap? The Vermont Futures Project, I think, currently has that pegged at 13,500 people a year short we are to meet demand. I have not independently verified that or dug in to that number too much recently, but if we're thinking that that is 13,500 more people is what we need, then yes, we're going to need to figure out, what does that mean for college students? What does that mean in each of these sectors? How many more kids into CTE, et cetera, to start getting a little bit more numerical with our goals. So anyway, we started to frame out what are these key sectors by asking Matt, who I don't know if he's still with us or not with the screen shared, just to pull data. So just what do the numbers tell us? What does the labor market demand data tell us? The Vermont Department of Labor currently publishes every other year what's called the Most Promising Jobs brochure in partnership with the McClure Foundation, which outlines what those promising career pathways are in Vermont, as well as the wages for each of them. And so we're used to doing a little bit of this demand projection exercise and looking at what is basically the value, so to speak, broadly, of being in those different pathways. And then once we looked at Matt's data, which is further down in this document, we won't go through the whole thing as I just give a summary, tried to overlay what are our state policy objectives as well. Are these two things aligned? So what are some of the consensus work that we've been trying to do around infrastructure, housing, climate resiliency, healthcare access, et cetera, and see if we could get to a sweet spot in terms of what those 5 sectors are. So the summary is the 5 sectors we have identified for this group to weigh in on is construction and trades, and I'm going in no particular order right now, healthcare, hospitality and leisure, or sorry, that has a better, different name. Let me start again. I'm going to just scroll through my own document. I was trying to see if I could get all the titles right by memory, and I'm not quite there. So construction and trades, number 1, again, no particular order, manufacturing, healthcare and social services, and then leisure and hospitality as the 5th. And as you have time, when you are looking through this document, you will see what we have in here for the GDP, the way it aligns with policies and priorities we've set for us as a state, the 7-year labor market demand. Again, big thank you to LMI for sussing out some of these numbers for us, the average wage, and then some of the sector partners, as well as what state workforce development board members do we have in each of these sectors. The sector partners are not necessarily meant to be an all-encompassing list. It was just trying to think who's doing workforce development already in these sector spaces. Should we want to work with them in some way, shape, or form? Or again, Sabina and Drake are working on doing this massive inventory of every workforce development training program opportunity that exists under the sun, et cetera, et cetera. Chris has been doing a little bit more thinking too on that note. And I think one of the open-ended questions we had that we didn't quite get to, though, in this exercise is, do we want separate subcommittees for each of these sectors if and when we decide these are the 5 sectors we're going with? Or is it just one subcommittee, maybe with a breakout for healthcare, given the kind of infrastructure they've already set up for themselves, doing healthcare workforce identification that's been working really well for the past few years? I will personally go out on a limb and say I don't see a reason to upset that apple cart. And it's aligned with something the governor's office had asked for a few years ago. But we're going to want to, I think, pin these down with how many more people in construction and trades, how many more people in manufacturing, and then it ties into all these other goals that we just went through in terms of what are the tactics and the strategies to get there. So, Chris, is there anything that you would add? And then Drake or Sabina, I would open it up for any additional questions or feedback.
Yeah, I think what I would add to it based off of what was pulled together with the other goals, I think the next step would be based because we had to, look at 5 different sectors, right? So is to bring that up a notch to look at the overall strategies and the activities that will encompass those 5 sectors. And I think that'd be helpful. And then we can develop our metrics and so forth based off of that. So everyone agree with that? Because to your point, Kendall, I think that what we're going to see is once we pull that up a level, is that there might be some convergence with some of those other goals, and that'd be a good way for us to kind of stay in our lane.
Right. Does anyone see any, sector that you strongly disagree with or that you think is glaringly missing?
Did you say IT tech? I didn't hear it.
Oh,
yeah, that was the 5th one.
Sorry,
Okay.
I left them out. Thank you. Can't count to 5 this afternoon, apparently. Yes, professional and business services is how it's couched in the document. In that's how we're able to pull what we have from the Labor Market Information Division for IT and tech. Professional and business services encompasses a lot of the IT and tech. Then NAICS codes underneath it. So sorry for forgetting that. And thank you, Sabina, because I know that one's one you've been leaning into.
It's one of my favorites. Right.
Hopefully none of these look too surprising to anybody. That's why I'm taking the kind of tacit agreement or silence as.
Yes, everybody's good.
Any other, now that you've thought and you're marinated on all 4 of the goals, anyone have any other additions? We're only a minute over. This is great. Right, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but this is, again, not the final version of these. They will continue to evolve. And I think there's a lot of really exciting opportunities for these goals to mingle in a really clear way and make sure that, folks, once we have our committees set up, are really able to communicate across committee, including the executive committee and the full board, to do really meaningful work. That's exciting.
All right, should we move to?
Do we need to vote on these?
I think we
Sorry
do.
Yeah.
No, I think we do, and I think now's the right time. Even though I tried to do it earlier, Kendall can't talk to 5, but I can't count to 5 today. But I can certainly try to vote early on almost everything. I think we're ready to do that. Correct? All right. Can we get a motion to approve the board goals that were presented today?
Make a motion to approve the board goals as they were presented today.
Perfect. Can we get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Kendall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Excellent. Great. Let's move next to the updates from Sabina and Drake, please.
Yes. This will be brief. as you may recall, our memorandum of understanding with our required partners under the WIOA grant and funding expired at the end of June, and we're working right now with the core partners to update that MOU, and then we'll be reconvening with all of the required partners in the next few weeks with the goal and hope that we will have an approved MOU by the end of the year, just FYI, and then we'll be sharing that with you. So that work is going forward. The MOU is fairly consistent with the last one, except we're updating the infrastructure costs, and required partners will have an obligation to pay those costs this time around, whereas they didn't in the past, just FYI. With a look to the future that, well, I won't get into too much detail because we're at the end of the meeting, but that we have a new virtual co-location type of offering that will come with when JobLink is updated, that will offer that ability to do that virtual sharing and referrals with clients. So that's exciting. We also, every state that has WIOA has to update and modify their state plans. So we're starting to work on that. That work is due at the sometime in March. Right now, that's the date, but obviously with the shutdown right now, things might get pushed out a bit. And so we're just sort of figuring out the timeline and who needs to be involved and all of that, and starting the foundation work. And I can provide more information for you with that either at the full board meeting or the December board meeting. The adult CTE, this is kind of a nice, wonderful story. Typically, the Department of Labor gives out small grants to all the CTE centers for adult CTE. And I'm sorry, Jay's not here to get his credit, but they are going to be doing 3 much larger grants, and there's going to be an application process for adult CTE that should be more meaningful for the type of work that we want to see happen at the adult CTE level. There is not a timeline right now. I'm guessing sometime after January, maybe Kendall, but it's not in the next 6 weeks or anything.
Sorry, what's not in the next 6 weeks after January, Sabina?
No, I meant the grant application. We're not there yet with announcing the grant application or anything yet, right? Am I correct?
Sorry,
right.
That's correct, yes.
Right. So it'll be probably early 2026 is what I meant to say. Yeah. And because of the shutdown, we have no updates on Workforce Pell, except that there will be a somewhat significant new set of responsibilities for the board that we don't really understand yet and don't know how detailed they'll be, but more on that to come as well.
All right.
Oh,
Ruth?
Ruth, yeah.
I did go to a CTE federal policy briefing since the government shut down. I've lost all track of what days we are in these
Day 30.
unusual times. But the Workforce Pell rulemaking process is moving forward in early December. So that's not impacted by the government shutdown, because I gather I'm learning so much from the shutdown, but there's the whole pieces of who's working and who's paid versus who's not working and who's paid. And I guess that rulemaking process is going forward while other things are closed. So,
well, it's a month behind, right? Then, yeah.
It's actually on their original time frame, but they will be, they had 2 things that were coming up after the Thanksgiving holiday, and those are still on the same dates they were originally on. That's as much as I know so far, but there'll be another briefing sometime in the next few weeks, and I'll have more by the next time we talk.
Thank you.
Just as an aside, I happened to read in the 7 days that Linda Alvarez was named the Vermont Teacher of the Year for 2026, and she's in CTE down in Brattleboro, which I thought was really cool.
That's great.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very nice celebration. I was there when it was announced. It was really special. And she's the keynote in an event at the Agency of Education. She's one of the speakers tomorrow at a strategic planning retreat that the Secretary of Education is hosting. So
Oh,
look
nice.
forward to
That's
hearing more
great.
about what she will use her platform for this year.
Yeah.
All right, are we all set with the update? Sabina, all set?
Yeah.
All right, great meeting. Everybody all set to adjourn? Is there any other topics to be discussed?
Just
Mark?
like one thing, as legislators, we have the ability to get interns from UVM and Norwich. And I'm wondering if that would be available to Sabina and Drake to help
Oh.
you in your research that you need to do to understand what is out there, you know, making up the work that you're going to need to do to catalog everything that we're trying to find out. And so I just thought that might be another area where actually my wife brought this up to me yesterday is, could that be done? Could you use those as well?
Yeah. Worth investigating, certainly.
Definitely. Two brains is not enough brains for an office.
Wait a minute.
trying to
Speak for
catalog.
yourself.
It's always helpful when there's
Well,
more.
my
How's that?
brain
Yeah,
plus
there you go.
yours. It's my brain that's deficient, I think.
Did you say
and-
deficient or efficient?
Deficient
They,
for the test.
We do need to have a motion to adjourn.
correct.
Right.
Correct.
I'll make the
I just
motion
wanted
to
make sure-
adjourn.
Well, hold on. Just want to make sure. Rep. Marcotte just had his question. Are there any other questions?
Yes, thank you.
for
Sorry.
anybody? That's okay.
I just will
All right.
say thank you all for reviewing these documents. I know it's a lot to look at a screen share for an hour and a half, but I think they look a lot better. And we look forward to sharing them with the full board later this month. So thank you all for bearing with us through that.
And
for
welcome
coordinating.
Betsy and welcome Chris.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Can we get a motion to adjourn? I think, Chris, you already want
Sure.
to say it again. Excellent.
Yes, I make the motion to adjourn.
Can we have a second, please?
Second.
Excellent.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Okay,
Yeah,
kidding.
funny. Funny. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank
Have
you.
a great week.
See you soon.
Take care.